At 11:47 on a Thursday night, Marcus Hale unlocked his front door with a perfect attendance plaque tucked beneath his arm. The house was dark except for the lamp above the kitchen table. Beneath it lay the road map he and Elena had unfolded 6 weeks earlier. Her wedding ring rested on the red line leading west. One suitcase was gone. Half the bedroom closet stood empty. Marcus placed the plaque beside the ring and stood between the reward he had earned and the life that had left. 6 weeks earlier, Marcus had woken before sunrise and checked the employee portal while coffee dripped into the pot. Beside his name, a bright blue number showed 64 unused vacation days. He studied it with the satisfaction other men reserved for retirement accounts. To Marcus, those days proved that he was dependable. They meant he had never left a crew short or chosen comfort over responsibility. Elena entered the kitchen carrying a folded highway map. She spread it across the table and drew a route from Ohio to Santa Fe, then toward the California coast. It was the trip they had postponed on their 20th anniversary, after her mother became ill, and again during the warehouse expansion. This year would mark 30 years of marriage. Elena handed him a red marker. "Circle the date yourself." Marcus circled it. Nothing is moving at this time. At the warehouse, Marcus's name moved through the building faster than he did. When a loading line stalled, someone called Marcus. When a driver failed to arrive, someone called Marcus. He wore usefulness like armor. His manager praised him for knowing every schedule and every weak point in the night shift. Marcus heard something else beneath the praise. As long as he was needed, he was safe. So when a supervisor called in sick, Marcus cancelled dinner and covered the floor. Elena waited at a small restaurant in the blue dress she had worn on their first trip together. At 8:40, she stopped waiting and drove to the warehouse. She found Marcus in his truck, eating the dinner she had packed while signing inventory sheets against the steering wheel. Only when she removed her earrings did he notice how she was dressed. "The anniversary trip will make up for tonight," he said. Elena folded the empty paper bag. "That trip has been making up for things for 10 years. The next morning, one of the colored pins had disappeared from the map on the refrigerator. Marcus noticed the bare hole but said nothing. At work, Human Resources handed him a notice about accrued leave. Most of his days could not be converted into retirement pay. At year's end, a large portion would expire. Across the top of the page were 3 words in bold. "Use or lose." Marcus read them twice. Then his manager asked him to delay his leave until after the quarterly audit, and Marcus agreed. Elena found the notice that evening inside his work bag. She placed it beside the map. "You said those days were for our future." Marcus loosened his boots without looking up. "They still are. I just need to get through the audit." Elena watched him carry the notice toward his desk, as though changing its location could change what it said. Later, while Marcus slept, she copied the household accounts, insurance papers, and mortgage records into a thin gray folder. On the morning of the trip, 2 suitcases waited beside the front door. Marcus had loaded the car when his phone rang. A systems failure had stopped 3 loading lines. The night supervisor could not restart them, and trucks were backing into the street. Marcus listened with one hand on the car key. Elena stood beside the open passenger door. "Are you asking me, or are you telling me?" He promised it would take 2 hours. Then he kissed her forehead, pulled on his work jacket, and drove away. Elena went to the roadside diner where they had planned to meet. She ordered 2 coffees and placed the folded map between them. Morning light crossed the table, then climbed the wall. A waitress refilled 1 cup and eventually stopped asking about the other. By afternoon, both drinks were cold. Elena looked at the empty chair, removed her ring, and closed it inside her hand. Then she drove home, packed 1 suitcase, and left the map beneath the kitchen lamp. Marcus stayed at the warehouse for 15 hours. When the loading lines finally restarted, his manager gathered the remaining crew near the time clock. He thanked Marcus for saving the shift and presented him with a gold-colored perfect attendance plaque. The workers applauded. Marcus smiled for a photograph, though his phone showed 9 missed calls. He drove home rehearsing the explanation he had given for years. The problem had been urgent. Nobody else could handle it. He had done it for them. The explanation died when he saw the ring. He searched the house for a letter and found none. In the bottom drawer of Elena's desk, he discovered a stack of cancelled reservations held together by a rubber band, a lakeside cabin, concert tickets, a coastal hotel, a weekend train journey, and the original road trip booking. Marcus remembered the warehouse emergency attached to every cancellation. He could not remember what Elena had worn, what she had planned, or how long she had waited before cancelling each one. He opened the employee portal. 64 vacation days still glowed beside his name. The balance had not changed, though his marriage had. Elena answered on his 4th call. Marcus began describing the failed system and the trucks in the street. Halfway through, he heard how carefully he was explaining machinery to the woman whose ring lay on his table. He stopped. "Where are you?" Elena said she was safe. "Please don't come after me." Marcus closed his eyes. "All right." It was the first request from her that he did not try to negotiate. Before sunrise, Marcus submitted a leave request. His manager called within minutes. Another supervisor was absent, and the morning shift needed coverage. Marcus sat in his car with the plaque on the passenger seat. The old answer rose easily. "I'll be there." Instead, he gripped the steering wheel until his hands stopped trembling. "I won't be coming in." There was a pause long enough for Marcus to imagine the warehouse failing without him. Then his manager said he would find someone else. The warehouse did not fail. Marcus attended the separation meeting Elena had arranged. He arrived early, turned off his phone, and placed it inside his coat. Elena sat across from him with a grey folder between them. Marcus did not promise a better vacation, an earlier retirement, or a new beginning. He signed the temporary agreement and listened while she described the years she had spent planning around his absences. Before leaving, he slid the transferable travel reservations toward her. Elena took the folder, but not his hand. Over the next several months, Marcus learned how little the warehouse had depended on his sacrifice. A younger supervisor handled the evening shift. Loading lines stopped and started without his intervention. Problems that once summoned him were solved by people he had never allowed to try. At 5 o'clock, Marcus sometimes stood beside his car, fighting the urge to return inside and check one last report. Each time, he started the engine before the urge could make the decision for him. He and Elena finalized the divorce quietly. She took a shorter western trip with her sister and posted one photograph from a desert overlook. Marcus stared at it for several minutes, then set the phone down without using the image as an excuse to contact her. He began taking his leave in small pieces. He visited his brother, repaired the porch, attended a neighbor's retirement dinner, and once spent an entire afternoon reading beside an open window while daylight moved across the floor. Near the end of summer, Marcus packed the car and unfolded the original road map. He followed the red line west alone. At first, he treated the journey like a delivery route, checking arrival times and calculating fuel stops. But somewhere beyond Santa Fe, the sky opened above a long, empty road. The schedule on the passenger seat began to resemble another set of warehouse instructions. He turned toward a desert overlook that had never been marked on Elena's map. The sun was already lowering when Marcus arrived. According to his itinerary, he should have stayed only 10 minutes. His work phone vibrated inside the car. He looked at the clock, then at the last band of light stretching across the desert. Marcus removed the key from the ignition. He sat on the hood while the sky faded from gold to violet, remaining there after the road signs disappeared into shadow. On the passenger side floor, the perfect attendance plaque lay beneath his folded work jacket. The map stayed open on the empty seat. Marcus no longer looked at where he was supposed to be next.